There's no special guest. You are stuck with me. It's only me. No, there's not a special guest. Oh, were you clapping for me?
What's up, friends? I'm Jonathan Miller, and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, where we help each other become better artists. This past weekend, I went to see Taylor Swift live for the very first time for night one in Seattle for the ERAS tour. It's no secret that I've been a fan of Taylor's since debut, but I regrettably could never really afford tickets to her shows. I braved the Ticketmaster war back in November because at the time, my dad had actually been given 6 months to live. So I had a small voice in my head saying that I was going to need something positive to look forward to. My dad did ultimately pass a few short weeks later, and I just recently got back from celebrating his wonderful life with my family. So, needless to say, this was a very enchanted and special weekend for me personally. If you, however, are a Swiftie, concert enthusiast, international fan anxiously awaiting your show, or maybe you missed out on tickets or you just kind of want to know what the hype is all about, then this video is for you. I've tried to make it as comprehensive and thorough as possible, but please remember that this is just my experience and your experience or the experience of others might be different, and that's perfectly okay. Side note, if you couldn't tell by the sound of my voice already, I had a lot of fun at the ERAS tour. I'm gonna talk about my whole experience from start to finish, from fighting Ticketmaster and my opinions on the whole thing, merchandise, my VIP experience at the show, the surprise songs, and more. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my content. Give this video a like if you've ever seen the music industry herself live before, or if you happen to be there in Seattle, and leave a comment telling me about your experience. Also, if you have any more questions about the ERAS tour that I don't answer in this video, don't hesitate to ask it in the comments too. It's been a long time coming, but here is my review of the ERAS tour by Taylor Swift live at Lumen Field, Seattle. November 14th, 2022 was the day that I got notified that I had been officially selected for the verified fan pre-sale for the ERAS tour, and I was ecstatic. Which, by the way, even getting signed up for the pre-sale on November 1st was chaotic due to consistent technology glitches, and I started trying on mobile as soon as it opened. I'm still amazed that I was selected. Taylor Swift is and has always been one of my favorite artists and a big songwriting inspiration to me. And unfortunately, I've never been able to see her live. I've also never done verified pre-sale anything, and certainly hadn't done it post-pandemic. So listen up if you're brand new to this experience too. Truthfully, I didn't know what to expect or really what to do. Fortunately, I'm all up in Swiftie TikTok. I mean, my album Deconstruction for Folklore on TikTok is the whole reason I have followers now. So yay, perks of the job. It became clear very quickly how high the demand was for this tour. There was not a lot of dates initially announced at this time, certainly not internationally yet. So people from all over the world wanted a chance to see Taylor. She had already dropped 7 brand new albums, 4 studio and 2 re-recordings at the time, since her last tour for Reputation, and anticipation was mounting for Speak Now Taylor's version, and 1989 Taylor's version, because at the time, we didn't know which one was coming next. So we in the Swiftie community call November 15th, 2022, the Great War. For a reason. My personal experience with Ticketmaster was bad, good, lucky, fortunate, privileged, and awful. And I'll tell you why. I got onto the Ticketmaster website at 6 a.m. and kept the page open. I'm from Oregon, which is on the west coast of the USA if you're unfamiliar, so our sale was set to open at 10 a.m., which is about 1 p.m. on the East Coast. I had heard from Swifties to get in line and stay, so that's what I did while editing my deep dive on Jackson Wang. During this time on the East Coast, Ticketmaster and Swifties were in the middle of a nightmare. People getting knocked out of line, multiple hours-long queues, tickets being snatched up by bots who somehow got through the verified pre-sale, prices increasing exponentially, and blowing people's budgets out of the water. Ticketmaster not communicating, Taylor nor Taylor Nation really saying anything, fees being ridiculous. This was a Tuesday. People were missing school or work or other commitments, never getting tickets at all despite being online at 0:30 a.m. People who had tickets to Loverfest in 2020 were supposed to have essentially guaranteed spots at this tour, and many of those people didn't end up with tickets at all because of all the glitches and problems that were happening, which is not okay. People were angry and upset, and they had a right to be. If you don't know what dynamic pricing is, I'm going to briefly explain it. Basically, it means that ticket prices can shift on demand even while you are in the middle of checkout. Dynamic pricing can cause a $100 ticket to become $500 or greater in an instant, which forces many people to give up what could be a fun night of entertainment. It's actually banned in certain countries, and because Ticketmaster and Live Nation have a monopoly on the whole concert ticketing experience, I personally believe it shouldn't be a thing anywhere. Now, without launching into a much larger topic and much larger video, I know some of you might be asking, well, John, if you got a VIP ticket, why are you complaining? And to be quite frank, I'm not complaining. I'm talking about it again because getting tickets to a concert should not be this chaotic or inaccessible. Right now, on resale sites like StubHub, every single ERAS tour ticket starts at over $1,000. As both an artist and a music consumer, that is not acceptable. For floor and VIP tickets to a concert of this scale, okay, I kind of understand that. For nosebleeds or obstructed views, no. The more we talk about it, the more likely change can happen. Or since our government has actually noticed, maybe good things can happen too. Taylor did eventually release a statement about what was happening and expressed her disappointment in Ticketmaster's handling of the situation, which I'm grateful for she did because the longer it went where fans were not hearing from her, the worse it was gonna be. Whether it was just for PR or not is a discussion for another day. I'm just glad she said something. I'm sorry to go on such a tangent, but I warned you in my Twice concert review. I've waited 8 months to state my opinion on this. So anyway, our sale gets delayed till 3 in the afternoon to hopefully iron out some of these issues so the West Coast sales will go smoother. I kept my computer on just in case, and at about 2:30 p.m. I was able to join the waiting room. I was in the queue at about 3 p.m. with over 2,000 people ahead of me. Over an hour later, I was in, and within 3 minutes, I secured my floor seat at Lumen Field. I got the Karma is My Boyfriend package, and total cost was $868.60 plus $65.15 for insurance. Once I got all my email confirmations and everything, finally, after a 12-hour total ordeal, my first VIP concert experience was secured. And one of the last things my dad told me on the phone was to go live and have the time of my life at the concert. So that's what I did. My VIP floor ticket came with a VIP exclusive merchandise box that would ship out around my concert date. I did a quick unboxing video talking more about it, which you can see with the link in the description, but it did ship to my old address as I moved a few months after purchasing my ticket. Luckily, I contacted UPS in time and it got rerouted to where I live now. So if you move between the time you purchase tickets and the time of your show, be aware of that possibility. I got my box just over a week before my actual show date, but also be aware that unfortunately, sometimes VIP boxes can ship after your show date. Luckily, nothing in it is required for you to enter the venue, but the light up lanyard that it comes with is what you would want to bring with you if it does arrive early because it's interactable during the show. Monday, the week of my show, I got an email from Taylor Swift VIP and Ticketmaster giving me all the details for where to go and when to arrive at Lumen Field. I was going to be buying quite a bit of merch because having crowd-free access to merch was a perk of VIP, and I'll talk about that a little later in the video, so I knew I would be arriving early. I drove up to Seattle on Friday, the day before the show, to meet up with a friend and see a little bit of the city. Traffic was awful. What's normally about a 3-hour drive for me ended up being about 5 because Seattle was also hosting a Mariners and Blue Jays game, and 6 luxury cruise liners were coming through town that weekend. So plus the Taylor Swift concert, traffic was just bad. It's all good though. I'm just glad I got there safely. On show day, I took the light rail train and got there a little after 2 p.m. VIP had a separate entrance, but floor ticket entry was also nearby, so there was a little bit of confusion, but we all figured it out. By this time, there were already thousands of people there. So I kind of figured I was a little late. I met some wonderful people. Shout out to Heidi and Addie of Spokane, Washington for waiting for me through security so we could go in together. I was there by myself and you guys made me feel so much more comfortable. If you ever see this video, thank you for that. And thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring this video. DistroKid is one of the best and leading music distribution platforms on the market, helping independent artists like you and me get our music up on places like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and even certain social platforms like TikTok and Snapchat. For one small yearly price, you can select one of the 3 awesome membership tiers to help you distribute as much music as you can create. Depending on which plan you select is right for you, you can gain access to all sorts of goodies and tools to help you promote and manage your music career as well. One such feature is called Fixer. DistroKid's Fixer is incredibly handy to help you move your music around on streaming services. Occasionally, places like Spotify may accidentally put your music on someone else's profile, or sometimes the opposite happens and someone else's ends up on yours. With Fixer, you can easily take care of that right away. Choose which platform there's been a mix-up with, link your artist page and the music you want removed or need to move, and let DistroKid do the rest. So use my special VIP link to save yourself 7% on your first year's membership with DistroKid. Link is in the description. At exactly 3 p.m., they began letting VIP into the WAMU Theater, which ended up being basically the holding room for VIP. There were clean restrooms and food available as everyone made their way inside. Initially, we thought our place in line wasn't very good, but quickly realized how lucky we were as more and more Swifties piled in. Everyone chatted, took pictures, traded friendship bracelets until about 3:40 when they lifted the essential garage door to reveal the VIP merch booth. Obviously, we all cheered and screamed. From there, things moved fast because general admission started entering the stadium at exactly 4:30 p.m. So I made it to the merch booth at nearly exactly that time, and everything was really well stocked. Again, I'll talk more about merch in a sec. I got my stuff and made my way to the floor. Although sealed water bottles are allowed at Lumen Field, they weren't supposed to be allowed onto the floor, but they did have water cups for everybody to empty them into, so that was good. There was talk about water bottles being a safety concern for the artist, and I was totally fine with that, especially with all the reports lately about people throwing things at performers on stage. Don't do that. I found my seat and had about 3 hours to kill until Taylor would take the stage. I had a great view of the stage, minus one teeny tiny little bar that occasionally blocked a little bit of the screen, but it wasn't anything to cry over. Taylor's out so much in the center of her set anyway, it doesn't really matter. I was just grateful to have a ticket and be in that environment. For my first VIP experience at a tour, especially one of this magnitude, I have zero complaints, minus the Ticketmaster fiasco, but you already knew that. Alright, here is my ERAS Tour merch review. I was the only one in my little family and friends circle lucky enough to get a VIP ticket, so I did make a couple purchases as gifts. I had 8 months to plan and save, so I went into buying merch, fully aware of how expensive it was going to be. Remember, you are not required to spend what I did. My merch mantra for any artist is buy what you can afford and brings you joy. Your money and your spending is your business, so if you bought one of everything, that's awesome. If you only bought one item or you didn't buy anything at all, that's cool too. I know at the time of this filming, there's only a few dates left in the US leg, but I still got a variety of the merch, so maybe anxiously awaiting Swifties, whether you're international or domestic, can have a little bit of an easier time picking what you want. They want the merch lines to move quickly, so if you can be prepared, that's a good thing. But anyway, here's what I bought at the ERAS Tour VIP merch booth. Of course, I got the highly sought after blue crew neck. It is oversized, so buy a size down if that makes you feel comfortable. Some people even buy 2 sizes down. It is soft. And besides its simple design, it's easy to see why so many Swifties want this shirt. If you're unaware, because it is so popular, there is a limit of 2 per customer. Many people in our line, including me, didn't know that, even though it's apparently been like that for a while. So if you're going by yourself and trying to buy one for a family member or friend, just be aware. It comes with a tag telling you to wash it with cold water first, because it's supposed to get distressed and get softer with more washes. And after washing it the first time, I can definitely confirm that as true. This crew neck is exclusive to the venues. You cannot get it online unless you buy from a reseller, which currently goes between $150 and $200. At the venue, it's $65 and well worth it in my opinion. I got the beige hoodie featuring the tour logo on the front and an all black version of the ERAS Tour artwork on the back. Again, it is super soft and oversized. I am from the Pacific Northwest and have an affinity for hoodies, so I like a little bagginess in my sweatshirts. So I bought a large and this fits me just fine. Depending on the fit, I usually buy a medium or a large. So I personally just bought large for everything, and I can definitely tell you I don't regret it. It's your choice though, whatever is most comfortable for you. The second hoodie I got is all black with the black ERAS Tour artwork on the front. It's got the tour dates on the back. It's also got Taylor Swift and the ERAS Tour written on the sleeves. Both hoodies were $75, which is spendy, but in line with pretty much all Taylor Swift hoodie prices, so I wasn't shocked. At least though, you're getting high quality, so that's good. And just FYI, I did not experience any ripping or tearing of the designs after washing any of the apparel that I bought, like some people did at the beginning of the tour. So if you were a little worried that might still be happening, it doesn't seem to be. So that's a good sign for you. I got two t-shirts that are essentially the same thing, the ERAS Tour artwork on the front and all the tour dates on the back. Really, the only difference is that on the beige shirt, the artwork is in all black and the artwork on the black tee is in screaming color. Both were $45 and again, super soft. The last clothing item I bought was the Midnight's blue long sleeve shirt. It features the Midnight's era photo on the front with Taylor Swift the ERAS Tour on the sleeve. It doesn't have anything on the back. I think this one's a bit closer to being true to size, but that may depend on your body type. For me, it fits perfectly with just a little bit of roominess. I know this particular item is not as popular because Taylor's face is so gigantic on it, but I really enjoy it and can't wait to wear it more in the fall when it's a bit cooler here in the Pacific Northwest. The long sleeve tee was $55. I got the tote bag and water bottle, which were $30 and $25 respectively. Both are great quality, although just be aware that the tote bag's inner lining isn't fully sewn into the outer lining. So if you take things out and you start to notice that your bag comes inside out, that's why. It doesn't bother me too much, but I thought I would mention it anyway. The last thing I bought was the Seattle exclusive tour poster. It's about 14 by 24 inches long, so it's a bit bigger than the Seattle VIP exclusive poster, and I'm okay with it. It's a nice little keepsake from the show, so I'm glad I decided to grab it, and it was $30. You can get the city exclusive poster online, but only during the weekend of that city's show. So if you forget to grab it, you can always do it then. And a couple hours after the show, Taylor Nation, if you're signed up, will send you a 15% off coupon that you can use at Taylor's online store, but it's only valid for 24 hours, so you have to move kind of quickly if you want to get something. And of course, while supplies last. Total price, not including tax, was $415. I know that's a big number, but I actually bought quite a bit more for Taylor than I did for Twice back in June, and the price difference wasn't that bad. There were still several items available that I did not purchase, and because the line was on an incline and there were so many heads, this is the clearest image of the merch that I could grab. If editing me can add pictures of what else is available and the prices, that will go here. Overall, my merchandise experience was great. I'm glad I got VIP and did not have to wait 4+ hours in the sun or show up at like 3 a.m. to the merch truck like some Swifties did the day before the show. If I had to pay that price for a ticket, I definitely felt it was worth it just to skip all of that. Again, remember that this whole video is my experience and yours may be different, which is totally valid and okay. Speaking of my unique experience, I have to share with you one of the best parts of my whole weekend. Swifties. Before I finally talk about the show, I do want to highlight Swifties and Lumen Field staff for a bit. Everyone I met was so incredibly kind and did their part to contribute to a safe environment. Like I said earlier, I went to this by myself, and as a gay guy who's typically very shy, crowds of this size can be very overwhelming and very overstimulating, but Swifties made this such a welcoming event. I watched the bags for the girls who sat beside me while they went to go get food. They did the same for me when I went to the restroom. I saw strangers looking out for each other and taking photos, laughing and having a great time. There were people of every size, shape, color, pronoun, and gender, and it equated to an atmosphere that just put me totally at ease. I made new friends, had great conversations about Taylor, the re-recording project, or just life itself, and it was so much fun. The guy who got the 22 hat was so nice to me in the VIP merch line hours beforehand. Someone saw my outfit and wanted to trade friendship bracelets, but when I turned around, my sunglasses and my phone went flying, but he actually saved my phone from breaking on the concrete floor and handed it back to me, which I was so grateful for. So when he got the 22 hat, I was so grateful that karma rewarded a kind gesture. So in my opinion, he deserved it that night. Lumen field staff again was fantastic. A well-oiled machine that deserves praise. Everyone was knowledgeable when there were questions. They joined in on collecting friendship bracelets and were singing along during the show. This again was just my perspective, but I'm so grateful that everyone was just so kind. There were more restrooms for women. Some of them were all gender, so everyone could be comfortable. You know, I talk a lot about music marketing on this channel. I've made plenty of content regarding music marketing and Taylor Swift in the past, but she does deserve a shout out for one thing in particular. Every fan base has rude and toxic people, but I really give Taylor Swift some credit for cultivating this type of fan base. Certain artists attract certain people. That's how music marketing works. That's how you find your audience as an artist. The ERAS tour honestly feels like a bunch of best friends gathered in a room for a silly sleepover with how intimate it feels. There is a safety line between fan and artist, which should always be respected. And at the end of the day, I don't know Taylor Swift personally, but I do appreciate the atmosphere she has continued to cultivate at her live shows since the beginning, made even more apparent at this show, which brings me to my last point. The ERAS tour is phenomenal. As I said before, I found my seat at about 4:40 p.m., which meant I had over 3 hours before Taylor and about an hour and a half until the first opener, Gracie Abrams. Gracie was fantastic. I could tell she was just a little nervous playing to a crowd of that size, but she owned the stage. Her songs were wonderful. She has a beautiful voice. I wasn't super familiar with her work prior to the concert, but I can tell you she definitely converted me as a fan. Her set was roughly 30 minutes, I think, and started promptly at 6:20 p.m. Then there was a small break. Time was the second opener, and of course, they crushed their set like the seasoned pros that they are. The energy they have is magnetic, and as soon as they took the stage, the anticipation for Nobody No Crime really began to mount. When their set was over, there was about a 20-minute break. Right at 7:53 p.m., the famous clock appears on the screen to start a 2-minute timer, and at promptly 7:55, Taylor comes up from the stage and begins her set. The ERAS tour is a 3.5-hour long show, and she does not stop the entire time. There are no intermissions. There are some breaks or casual moments. Remember, when crafting an album or a tour, it's all about peaks and valleys and energy. There are ballads, there are times when she speaks to the audience, outfit changes, small little transitions between eras, but for the most part, the show does not stop. So if you've got to go to the bathroom or you need to get water or some food, you've just kind of got to pick which songs you're going to sacrifice for that trip. The ERAS tour is roughly broken up so that 3 albums fill an hour. Debut is not on the main set list and is primarily used just for surprise songs. Folklore being the longest era containing 7 songs and starting right at about 10 p.m. Not every song of every era is sung in its entirety, but a good majority of them are, which I gotta say is absolutely impressive. The stamina Taylor must have to go for that long and give as much energy and commitment to the slower portions as she does to her more up-tempo songs is incredible. I've known for several years that Taylor is amazing, but seeing her up close on this scale is just simply astounding. Any artist who can do consistently a 3.5-hour set deserves kudos. The ERAS tour is a celebration of Taylor's discography. It is not a greatest hits or farewell tour of some sort. She sings far too many B-sides for it to be considered any of those things. It also doesn't feel like purely fan service either. Of course, it's a tour and an expensive one at that, whether you buy merch or not, so profitability is noticeable to the naked eye. But let me tell you, no matter where your seat is in that stadium, you're getting your money's worth. It's the rare type of show that leaves you wanting to see it again but also completely satisfied if you can't. That's a tricky balance to find, but her and her entire crew nailed it. Taylor also doesn't necessarily make it feel like it's all about her either. As I said, it's a celebration of her work and her fans' support of it from the beginning to where she is now. Even though I know the majority of her speeches are rehearsed for timing purposes, they don't feel disingenuous either. For example, her genuine shock after stressing that there were no guests for surprise song Everything Has Changed, which is traditionally sung with Ed Sheeran, as we were all cheering just for her. We didn't care. There's over 70,000 people in every stadium she goes to, including the thousands of people outside the stadium watching, but the atmosphere is essentially friends hanging out at home just talking. That's really cool. Swapping out "'Tis the Damn Season," Taylor and Haim took the stage for the very first live performance of "Nobody No Crime" at the top of the Evermore set, and the crowd went wild. It was such a treat to get that song. Every one of the women had their own verse too, unlike the recorded version, so it was even more special. Taylor was so ecstatic to be singing with her best friends, and that energy was amazing. I absolutely loved it. That song is such a standout from the Evermore record, so I'm glad it finally got the live rendition that it so desperately deserved. However, there was no energy that matched the Reputation set. That was electric. I don't know if Reputation gets the same reaction for every show, but here in the Pacific Northwest, we go feral for a Bad Bee anthem. The crowd was extra ecstatic for that era to begin. I absolutely love the Reputation album. Rep and 1989 are my favorite albums, and I cannot wait until we get Taylor's versions of them, because with Taylor at this level, it's going to be wild. Our surprise songs, which happened right after 1989 at around 10:45 p.m. were "This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things" from Reputation, and like I said, "Everything Has Changed" from Red. Both were of course stunning. But like I said, Seattle enjoys Reputation. We screamed for "This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things," and Taylor lost it. Conveniently during the part she's actually supposed to laugh in, but she couldn't stop laughing because of how excited we were. Also, the ERAS tour and the success of the re-recording project being such karmic moments, it just made for a really funny time. Both songs were beautiful though. I left pretty quickly after the show ended and followed the crowds to get back to my hotel safely. I was very lucky and managed to squeeze onto the first train right after getting to the station, but it can take a while to get home, so plan accordingly. The show does not end until somewhere between 11:15 and 11:30. So be aware, it's gonna be a long night. But there were so many Swifties throughout Seattle, you couldn't turn a corner without seeing a bejeweled sparkly outfit. Everyone dresses up for this concert. So please, if you feel comfortable, definitely do it. Taylor Swift and the ERAS Tour is a completely magical event in which every show is unique. You can't help but walk away with numerous memories and special moments replaying in your head. Not to mention the live singing and excellent music. It is probably the most fun I have had in a long time, and I'm glad my dad, rest his soul, encouraged me to have the time of my life. If you are privileged enough to see this tour, absolutely do it if you can. I know it's expensive, but it is absolutely worth it. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask me in the comments. Like this video if you enjoyed it or found it helpful, and subscribe for more reviews in the future. What an unforgettable night. And in the immortal words of the iconic Speak Now track that we also got to see live, long live all the magic we made.
It was so much fun. I had so much fun. That was so much fun.